The Nairobi Metropolitan Services has officially handed over the transferred functions back to the Nairobi County Government. This puts Governor Johnson Sakaja in full control of the 14 functions of the county. The key functions include health, transport and planning. Good evening and welcome. This is FriDate with me, Karen Karimi. My guest tonight joins me via Skype from Tunisia. I am really excited to have her on our show. Habiba Abdul Rahman is a Kenyan Dubai-based climate champion, a sustainable fashion and lifestyle blogger, and founder of Trashin Kenya. Habiba, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Habiba, do you consider climate change a woman's issue?
Absolutely. Climate change is a woman's issue because women are also who are affected by climate change at the forefront of climate change. They are affected because, first of all, there's period poverty. I know you've heard about period poverty, whereby women do not have access to decent sanitary pads and because of water. So drought that causes lack of water makes these women miss out on just decent sanitary pads, and their menstrual periods are affected, and so they cannot have that privilege. So that's one of the main issues that women are faced, and that's how you find women are affected, and they cannot have access to good education, and they are future mothers.
Awesome, Habiba. We will have you on later in the show. But first, let's jump straight into tonight's headlines. Tonight, one person in quarantine in Kakamega County after presenting Ebola-like symptoms.
We had received a male adult with bleeding problems, for which we are doing investigations suspecting that it could be Ebola.
It will be a long 24-hour wait as Medics finalize diagnosis. Also tonight, President unveils a task force that will determine the fate of the competency-based curriculum. Professor Raphael Munavu to lead the team that also includes top teacher Peter Tabichi among 47 others. Plus, a president's inaugural speech to the bicameral parliament continues to elicit mixed reactions from leaders.
If he wanted us to believe the ridicule he tried to bestow on President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday, he could have started by saying, "I had to resign."
And a section of experts who say the president's promise could be unsustainable.
So if you go upper, Ruto has to see eye to eye with Google trying to get money from these companies through taxation.
Welcome to the program. Ann Wairimo is our sign language interpreter tonight. Now, to our top story, one person has been isolated at St. Mary's Hospital in Kakamega County after he presented Ebola-like symptoms. The man traveled to Uganda 2 weeks ago before experiencing the symptoms of the disease. The incident has, however, raised confusion as the Ministry of Health was reported to have refuted the suspicion. Health officials at the facility, however, say the patient will know his fate in the next 24 hours. Patronila Gorin with the details.
A middle-aged man has been isolated at St. Mary's Mumias Hospital in Kakamega County as health practitioners continue to investigate if he is infected with the Ebola virus. According to the doctor at the facility, the man, who is a resident of Nambale in Busia County, presented himself at the facility with Ebola-like symptoms.
He had a cut wound on his palm. So on removal of those stitches, the site continued to bleed. He reports that he felt the urge to pass urine at the same time. And when he went to pass the urine, he noticed that it is frank blood. So the facility advised him that they cannot manage, and he referred himself to this facility, for which we are doing investigations suspecting that it could be Ebola.
The patient has been isolated with blood samples having been transferred to Nairobi to be tested to clarify if the patient is indeed infected with the disease.
We have also collected samples to take to the National Reference Lab for clarity, and also has a history to have come from Uganda 2 weeks prior to coming to the facility. Currently, he is stable.
However, the residents in the county have expressed concerns over the outbreak of Ebola, calling on the government to put in stringent measures to curb the disease.
Tuko karibu na mpaka wa Uganda. Kwa hivyo wale wakaji ama wale wa Uganda ambao wanatoka labda Uganda kuja Kenya kufanya biashara, tuko na hofu nao sana.
Sisi tuko kama hatuujui. Wa ule corona ulipokuja walituambia tufae mask. Lakini huo hawajatuambia tufae nini.
The fate of the isolated patient will now be known in 24 hours after the results of the tests. And in Mombasa County, the Department of Public Health has started implementing preventive measures against Ebola, with one of the health facilities identified for such cases.
Ebola is more contagious. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu sana tuhakikishe kuwa kuna zile protectives ambazo tuko nazo. Tunashukuru wakati COVID ilikuja tulipata kununua nyingi, so tumedistribute kwa sub counties. Tuna train the health workers jinsi wanavyofaa kuvaa na kutoa zile protective gears, na tume identify this facility as mahali ambapo tukipata case tunatoa mgonjwa from the place, tunakuja tuna isolate.
For now, Kenyans have been urged to stay alert and present themselves in a health facility should they experience Ebola-like symptoms. Uganda reported the first Ebola case more than 2 weeks ago, and so far the country has recorded 7 deaths. Patronila Goren for TV47.
Also tonight, the over 2-year tussle over the Nairobi Metropolitan Services comes to an end with the body handing over the 4 national government functions back to the Nairobi County Government. And as Emmanuel Haimba now reports, this might not be the last time the military will be involved with county affairs, as Governor Johnson Sakaja has announced that a memorandum of understanding between the county and the military is on the way.
Today, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is in full control of the affairs at City Hall after the Nairobi Metropolitan Service handed back the 4 county functions they given to the national government in March of 2020.
As we officially hand over the transferred functions back to the county government.
The event marking the end of 30 months of the body, which was the subject of heated debate between the former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko and President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, with Sonko at some point saying that he was duped into signing the deed of transfer.
From the time we took over, he was the senator of Nairobi. He helped us guide NMS to what we have achieved today.
Today, the man was at the helm of the devolution docket, then reaffirming that there was no ill will on the deal.
I also want to say that it was not true that probably the national government came to usurp these powers.
All the men and women who took part in the creation of NMS, including the outgoing Attorney General Kihara Kariuki, were back to undo the deed of transfer. In the deal, Nairobi ceded 4 out of 14 functions to the national government in agreement that left City Hall in control of less influential departments. The transferred functions were the County Health Services, the County Transport Services, the County Planning and Development Services, and the County Public Works, Utilities and Ancillary Services. However, in March of this year, the NMS tenure was extended to August 9, and another 3 months was added to allow the transition once a governor is elected. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is saying that today is not the end of the road for the military personnel at the Nairobi County, as announced that an MOU will soon be signed between the City Hall and the military.
There is no former NMS staff and former county government staff. You are all staff of the Nairobi County Government.
The governor is also assuring workers under the NMS that their jobs are secured.
We are going to make Nairobi work, and we'll make it work together. I need you also to play your part.
Haimba, Emmanuel, TV47, Nairobi.
Azimio leaders have lashed out at President William Ruto's inaugural speech to the 13th Parliament, saying it failed to address issues regarding the state of the nation. The Azimio team, led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, say President Ruto's speech didn't touch on the struggles of the everyday Kenyan, like the high cost of living, the security situation in Kerio Valley, but instead gave Kenyans more promises.
A day after President William Samoei Ruto delivered his inaugural speech to the 13th Parliament, Azimio leaders have poked holes on his speech.
Protest may have been, it failed to address pertinent issues regarding the state of our economy and the national standard of living.
Led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, the leaders have urged the president to move away from campaign mode and instead focus on delivering his promise to the country, stating that he is moving a sinking ship with failed promises.
By the Ruto administration was to the lowering of the cost of living. From day one, all costs associated with basic living have gone up. The price of unga and the cost of electricity are beyond the ordinary mwananchi's reach. These are matters we feel should take preeminence in these early days. Just like there was the rush to subsidize fertilizer on the 19th of September 2022, the same urgency should have first and foremost been applied to the rapidly rising cost of living.
On the economy and high cost of living, the leaders have criticized Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza government on quests to see the country save more, insisting first he has to deal with the cost of living.
It is the middle class in this country and the hard-working business people who have made this country move towards Vision 2030 objectives of a middle-income country. But now if we kill that spirit, by Kenyans not being able to borrow, I think that the consequences will be amazing in a negative sense.
Kadhalika wanamtaka kuanza kutekeleza ahadi zake kwa Kenya, bali sio kutoa ahadi zaidi ambazo wanadai kuwa ni za kuwahadaa wa Kenya.
Administration's initiative of utilizing savings for development instead of borrowing is another camouflaged promissory note. To realize the 300 billion shillings from this year's budget is extremely ambitious. We wish to propose austerity measures such as the restructuring of the national debt and the recovering of public funds looted from 2013 to date.
The leaders have hinted of starting an inquiry on the subsidized fertilizer procurement process. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has appointed 49 men and women to spearhead reforms in the education sector. The Working Party on Education Reform will be led by University of Nairobi Professor Raphael Munavo, with renowned teacher Peter Tabichi, Kenyatta Vice Chancellor Paul Wainaina, and his University of Nairobi counterpart Stephen Gitahi Kiama, part of the team.
The Munavu-led task force will be expected to undertake a summative evaluation of CBC and study all laws governing the basic education subsector and make recommendations for review of these legislations to address duplication, ambiguities, efficiency constraints, and improving linkages. The new team has also been tasked with assessing the examination framework and also evaluate the teacher education and training framework for both pre-service and in-service. Ruto further tasked the Working Party to look into the teachers' deployment policies and general school governance. Other members of the task force included David Some, Halima Saado Abdillahi, Siriaka Gitonga, Purity Mbabu, Edward Katue Nzinga, Virginia Wahome, Robert Juma Wamalwa, Charles Kialo Mutinda, Anthony Cheriot TNA, Bishop Geoffrey Waweru Gishohi, Reverend Selina Jepngeno, Laila Abubakar, Daniel Otieno Randa, John Kamiti Munyua. Also sitting on the committee are Kizito Angalwa, Augusta Mwihaki, Peter Baraza, Ahmed Yusuf, John Mose, Hassan Mwakimako, Linet Mwende Ndile, Wilson Kogo, and Stephen Mbugu Wangari. The Ministry of Education has been directed to provide the task force with a secretariat that will provide appropriate background briefing to it and prepare reports of the Working Party and disseminate any information deemed relevant to the Working Party. In his inauguration address, President William Ruto stated that the task force will determine the next step for the education system, which has raised mixed reactions in the country. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, government pathologists are yet to disclose lawyer Paul Gicheru's postmortem results to the public. This despite the procedure being concluded late Friday. Our reporter Elizabeth Atieno was at the Lee Funeral Home where the autopsy was conducted and filed this report.
These were the sight and scenes at the Lee Funeral Home for the better part of Friday. Pathologists from the government chemist and detectives from the homicide and forensics, fully covered in their white overalls, were on full gear, ready to conduct the much-anticipated postmortem on Gicheru's body. The exercise, which lasted for about 5 hours, might have brought closure to a section of family members, but not all, especially many Kenyans who remain in the dark on what is written on the postmortem report. Gicheru's family, pathologists and investigators pursuing the case have declined to disclose the findings. It is alleged that Josephine Wamboi, Paul Gicheru's mother, halted the post-mortem examination, demanding that all the deceased lawyer's children who were out of the country needed to be present. The aggrieved mother earlier read malice in Gicheru's death, asking the government to expedite the probe to establish the cause of death. On the other hand, the International Criminal Court indicated that it was ready to close the file on witness interference once the government confirms the death. Gicheru was on trial at the ICC on allegations of witness interference. His case had entered its final stage, awaiting judgment. On whether the lawyer died of poison or if his death was in any way linked to the ICC case remains a dilemma that will only end the day the post-mortem results, currently in the hands of pathologists, will be laid bare in the public domain. Paul Gicheru died on Monday, the 27th of this month, in his current home. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Now, the move by the High Court to rule that gubernatorial aspirants will not be required to be holders of university degrees is already eliciting mixed reactions across the country. The nullification of the legal provision, which has been in existence since 2011 and was used in the 2013, 2017 and 2022 elections to lock out tens of governor candidates for lack of the education requirement, now reawakens a debate about the importance of academic credentials in leadership. Flora Miluki reports.
It is a sigh of relief for gubernatorial contestants without university degrees after the High Court ruled that legal provisions requiring gubernatorial aspirants to have university degree as being unconstitutional. In his decision, Justice Anthony Murima ruled that Article 180, Section 2 of the Constitution, which states that gubernatorial aspirants should have similar qualifications as members of county assembly candidates, supersedes Section 22, Section 2 of the Election Act, which requires gubernatorial aspirants to have a degree before being cleared to vie.
A declaration hereby issue that pursuant to Article 180, Sub-Article 2, as read with Article 183 of the Constitution, the qualification for the election of a county governor is similar to the eligibility for election as a member of county assembly.
The legal provision has been in existence since 2011 and was used in the 2013, 2017 and 2022 elections to lock out the tens of gubernatorial aspirants for lack of the education requirement.
Issues that Section 22, Subsection 2 of the Elections Act contravenes Article 180, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution by creating an avenue for differentiation between the eligibility requirements between members of county assembly and county governors. Hence, to that extent, it is unconstitutional.
Aspirants who are ineligible for lack of a university degree, the judge says the declaration of unconstitutionality will take effect in the next general election in 2027.
Then, with a view of forestalling an avalanche of petitions by those who are ineligible by dint of the impugned section and coupled with the late filing of the instant petition, the declaration of unconstitutionality of Section 22, Subsection 2 of the Elections Act shall take effect in the next general election.
The move has elicited mixed reactions both on and offline, with Kenyans weighing in on the ruling that is likely to become the next dog whistle for a long time.
Kazi ya ukavana inahitaji mtu ana tajriba kubwa sana.
Lakini kazi ya management kusimamia county inataka mtu ambaye ana masomo.
Wacha pia mtu asomee, anaposoma apate degree naye apate kazi ambayo yanafaa.
The petition was filed by Victor Bwoga, challenging putting academic degree as a threshold for qualifications of candidates on election for the county governor. Flora Limuki, TV 47.
The Kenya Tea Development Authority, that's the KTDA, has fired 8 senior employees said to have colluded with former directors who recently hatched a plot to make a comeback. Now, the move announced by company chairman David Ichoho comes shortly after a group ousted from leadership by farmers last year stormed various factories and the KTDA headquarters, allegedly in a bid to take over office forcefully. Now, Ichoho was briefing journalists in Ruiru after chairing a meeting of KTDA directors of 60 factories in Zone 1, Kiambu County. The meeting attended by, among other, Gatundu South MP Gakombe, who was declared as persona non grata. Gakombe, who is also a director of Ndarugu and Theta Tea Factory, said he and other newly elected legislators will ensure farmers' interests are not undermined by selfish cartels.
Their kids to school if we play around with this industry. I want people to know that this is the only industry, this is the only subsector in the whole agricultural sector that is organized. In fact, the presidency is seeking to borrow from KTDA and know how we do our business so that they replicate this in all other industries and all other subsectors in the agricultural sector. Anybody who is trying to put some joke or who's trying to bring any chaos into this industry is most unwelcome and will be dealt with by the law with equal force as they try to come. We are going to mete out serious force.
We promise the farmers that we are going to serve them diligently, and we are going to, with the help of the chairman, national chairman, we are going to make sure that their tea brings a lot of income to them.
A 2020 report shows that over 50% of Kenyan children have accessed pornography online. And while these numbers are disheartening, what is more shocking is the number of minors falling into pornography addiction. Beatrice Watari has that report for us.
Now, the sex topic is one that parents shy away from, especially with their kids and those in their early teens. But this does not necessarily mean that the kids will not be exposed to graphic images and pornographic materials, even as they browse through the internet studying. Join me in this fact-filled feature as I explore matters pornography, as well as the addiction that comes with it.
Online, most people, if not all, get exposed to the not so good, the bad, and the outright dangerous world of adult content. The report by the National Plan of Action to Combat Online Child Sexual Exploitation and Abuse says that 67% of children aged between 12 and 17 have accessed the internet, with the majority of them without guidance on how to safely navigate the internet space, the largest percentage of a 5-country survey. These numbers representing the reality on the ground of children who find themselves deep into the downward spiral of pornography addiction. A conversation with Sam, not his real name, who battled a recovery from porn addiction for 5 years, is one that opened my eyes to just how easy it is to get hooked at a young age without proper support and guidance from parents. He narrates how he watched the very first explicit film before the age of 18 years.
So there were these friends I had. So one of my friends is the one who introduced me to those movies. So we went there and we watched. But I was still a teen. I was below 18. So after I watched, so I would maybe look for an opportunity. If I go and watch. But the time when I became so much used to is when I completed high school and I was able to get my first smartphone. Then I went to campus, so I had my phone, I had my laptop, and there was free Wi-Fi. So I think that was the time where now it became like a habit.
More than 85 research studies have linked poor mental health and emotional health to porn use, and Sam was one of those affected, as his grades in school were greatly affected too.
Sam knew he needed help, and he sought it in the hands of Ruth, a former porn addict, counselor and founder of Second Chance Consults that helps rehabilitate porn addicts. His efforts were not in vain.
And this is the time when I saw Ruth's story online. I think she had an interview with Daily Nation. So I looked for that link. I read the story. And then when I read the story, that's when I knew that. So when I read the story, I identified with it. So I knew this is something that I'm going through. And this person so willing to help me overcome it. So I felt this is where maybe my help could come from.
For some of them, it's a friend invited me to watch pornography. Whatever the case, it doesn't matter the story. The fact is that we are here. And so we have to work through the trauma. Because you see, again, addiction is like a mango, is the mango we see. But the mango will always come in season until we kill the tree.
In March 2021, Garissa Township MP Aden Duale received a public backlash when he proposed a bill seeking to criminalize publication of pornographic material by amending the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act 2018, which even after sailing through in Parliament was challenged all the way to the Court of Appeal, with those against the new law warning that the bill violates freedom of expression. It is this situation that has rubbed the church the wrong way, with Reverend Elijah of St. Paul striking a conciliatory tone, urging the public not to judge those who find themselves in the bondage of pornography addiction.
So that love, reaching out to them in love, helping them know that future is brighter and better for them, and helping them to understand that whatever is happening, it is possible to change.
A society suffers when individualism kicks in, and the effects of pornography are not just on an individual, but to the whole society at large, hence the need to put a stamp on it. However, there is hope to restore the ones in bondage and also protect the innocent ones from a lifetime battle with pornography. Reporting for TV47, my name is Beatrice Watare.
Time for sports now, and the Football Kenya Federation Transition Committee earlier today postponed the scheduled start to the new season of the FKF Premier League, citing uncertainties surrounding football leadership in the country. Now, through an official statement, the Transition Committee stated that the suggestion to postpone the league was tabled by clubs taking part in the league, adding that the official starting date is yet to be communicated once all stakeholders come into agreement. This comes only a day after the Transition Committee had a meeting with the outgoing Sports Cabinet Secretary, Amina Mohammed, who remained adamant over her decision to disband the federation. Most FKF Premier League clubs earlier this month had vowed not to take part in the new season of the league until the ban imposed by World Football governing body FIFA on Kenya was lifted.
It's something that I find that our colleagues are not actually, bringing out clearly. They say that